Hey! Do you know what I'll be having for lunch today? I'm going to have whipped cream-covered cinnamon buns, bacon, and an iced frappuccino for breakfast. Lunch would be a large steak, potatoes, and chocolate pastry. And for supper. Dude. Be careful. You've spent the entire week consuming rubbish. You can enjoy these foods on occasion, but you cannot consume them often and expect to live a long life. Let me tell you what the world's longest living inhabitants of the blue zones would never consume. You've never heard of blue zones, what gives? I'll explain. Few people reach the age of 90 without carrying any ailment with them. However, there are 7 unique geographical regions where the life expectancy has increased to 100 years. The places with the oldest populations include Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, Loma Linda, California, Korea, Greece, and Nicoya, Costa Rica. These areas have developed into blue zones. The majority of your longevity is determined by your lifestyle, not your genes. Researchers uncovered the secrets of these areas and discovered a high correlation between local diet and longevity. Maybe it's time we adopted their longevity secret as well. The Blue Zone diet doesn't count calories. It doesn't emphasize reading labels or taking wellness supplements. It's a healthy, all-natural way of living. Let's now look at things to avoid in order to help you start living a long and prosperous life. Do you indulge in too many hamburgers, steaks, and hot dogs? Red meat has become such a staple that it might nearly be considered the national dish of the United States. But what's this? In the blue zones, meat is only consumed on special occasions. The serving size is minimal, maybe around 2 ounces, and they consume it perhaps twice a week or even less frequently. Loma Linda residents are Seventh-day Adventists who abstain entirely from meat. It would be ideal if you could. However, giving up meat cold turkey can be challenging if you've been a meat lover for a long time. If you must satisfy your meat desires, pick chicken that has been grown on an organic farm. People from the other blue zones exclusively consume free-ranging, grain-fed animals. Each pound of body weight corresponds to 0.36 grams of protein requirements. However, Americans frequently overdo it. The key is to manage the portion amount. Keep in mind that your lamb chop should not be larger than a deck of cards. Your best option if you go to a restaurant and see a larger serving is to share it with someone else or order the extra food to go. Just refraining from acquiring sausages, lunches, and other processed foods will make things so much simpler. They will harm your heart in 2 ways. First, since they are high in sodium and preservatives. According to a review, eating processed beef increases the risk of coronary heart disease by 18%. Red meat significantly elevated the risk of heart attacks by 9%. Perhaps the researchers from the blue zones have cracked the heart disease code. What about consuming adequate protein, though? When they stop eating meat, do they still lack enough protein? They do, however, have additional plant sources. Beans, fruits, sweet potatoes, green vegetables, nuts, and seeds make up the majority of their typical diet. They eat seasonal garden produce and even pickle the extra to eat in the off-season. To increase your protein intake, try tofu, tempeh, and beans. Have you ever attempted a vegan burger with a black bean or chickpea patty? If you season it well and serve it with a small salad, it is wonderful. Eggs and fish are likely the next 2 sources of protein in the diet of the typical American. To replicate a blue zone diet, you should limit your egg consumption to 3 per week. Eat it as a soup like the Okinawans or as a side dish like the Mediterranean folks. You can also eat fish as part of your diet. According to studies, persons who solely consume fish and vegetables in these areas, or pesco-vegetarians, live long lives. Just eat cod, anchovies, and sardines. They'll have reduced mercury levels and less contaminants. Do not consume swordfish, shark, tuna, or sea bass. Avoid canned fish since those who live the longest only consume fresh, wild fish. Now, what do cakes, donuts, pastries, and chocolate all have in common? It's sugar. The number of obese people is rapidly increasing, and sugar consumption is a significant factor. American adults who are 1/3 overweight. The recommended daily intake of sugar for Americans is 6 to 9 tablespoons. But how much money does the typical American possess? 22.5 tablespoons. And it gets bigger every year. This is due to the fact that our bodies have grown more resistant and can now only be satisfied with increasing amounts of sugar. When following a blue zone diet, you must reduce sugar intake by 1/3. 7 tablespoons of sugar per day are acceptable. It's not a simple job. Try to keep the sugar in your tea and coffee to a minimum. But did you know that sugar may be found in things like yogurt, salad dressings, cereals, fruit juices, sauces, and baked goods like bread? Foods that are packaged in a box usually include additional sugar. Infertility, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and cardiac issues can all be brought on by sugary foods, which can also boost insulin levels. You can even lose your life if you disregard it. Reducing your sugar intake can therefore simply improve your odds of living longer. High fructose corn syrup is the same. It can be the main cause of aging. Try using honey instead of sugar if you're addicted to sugary coffee or tea. Although it will contain sugar, at least it will have the same anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and anti-cancer qualities as the Acarians. Since honey dissolves more slowly in cold liquids, you will ultimately consume less of it. Stevia is a natural sweetener that you can also try using. Although it goes against the conventional wisdom of the Blue Zone diet, it makes sense to choose stevia over sugar. Before including it into your diet on a regular basis, consult your doctor. Stock your refrigerator and cupboard with plenty of fresh fruit. Avoid dried fruit since fresh fruit will keep you satiated for longer. You can also satisfy your hunger by snacking on nuts. Pay close attention to products with low-fat claims on the label. It's possible that the producers will add a lot of sugar to make it taste better. According to centenarians, eating sweets is only appropriate during special occasions. They always have a cookie or a piece of pie for celebration. On religious holidays or community festivities, sweets are served. You can include dessert with your Sunday supper to avoid feeling completely starved. Can you now picture the healthiest people in the world consuming soda? No. So why should you consume it? If you usually have a drink with supper, stop immediately. The Blue Zone diet's guidelines for beverages are rather simple. You can have a cup of coffee to start your day. Keep in mind to keep it black. Leave the cream and sugar there. By lightly sprinkling cinnamon on top, you can sweeten it. Coffee has been demonstrated to lower the prevalence of dementia and Parkinson's disease and is the main source of antioxidants in the American diet. Drink water if you experience dry mouth during the day. In all honesty, water is the best beverage available. Your body can operate at its highest level when you are properly hydrated. On the other side, soda and energy drinks might prevent your bones from absorbing calcium, which makes them fragile. If you must consume something carbonated, use sparkling water or seltzer. You will at least keep the sugar out of reach. Green tea is an option if you're craving afternoon tea. Okinawans frequently sip green tea. Additionally, studies have linked green tea to a reduced risk of cancer and heart disease. Other inhabitants of the Blue Zone also make fresh teas from herbs like rosemary, dandelion, sage, and mint. These plants are all renowned for having incredible anti-inflammatory qualities. Comparing these beverages to soda, do they appear dull? Guess what, though? The following one will add some spice. Red wine may be consumed in moderation. You don't want to drink till you feel sloshed, start throwing up, and have a bad hangover the next morning, so pay close attention to the word moderation. Limit your daily glass consumption to 2. Resveratrol is an antioxidant found in wine that is beneficial to your general health. Milk is another item with which you must exercise caution. Dairy has long been regarded as a major source of calcium. However, did you know that certain people may have trouble digesting cow's milk? Lactose intolerance affects about 30 million Americans. People from the Blue Zones like Sardinia and Icaria are accustomed to drinking milk from sheep and goats. Another enzyme that aids in the digestion of lactose is present in them, lactase. They also don't consume milk in its natural state. They always ferment it and make cheese, sour milk, or yogurt out of it. Anyone for goat cheese? If you can't find any other dairy alternatives, try soy, almond, or coconut milk instead. They will both satisfy you equally well and provide you with adequate calcium to strengthen your bones. Are you a huge admirer of restaurant bread baskets? It will typically be produced with refined flour. Like other processed foods, processed grains should also be avoided when on a Blue Zone diet. This breakdown of a carbohydrate-rich diet causes a spike in blood glucose right away. On the other hand, eating bread made entirely of whole wheat or genuinely created sourdough will have a wealth of advantages for you. Because whole grain bread has a lower glycemic index, it will lessen your risk of type 2 diabetes and obesity. Additionally, it will include more fiber, which can help with digestive problems like constipation. If you're preparing your own bread, don't forget to use rye and barley flour. Along with a variety of minerals like selenium and magnesium, you'll also get tryptophan, an amino acid. Additionally, digestion is aided by the lactobacilli employed to raise the sourdough. Find a bakery or store that bakes healthful, real sourdough bread. To increase the nutritional content, you can also add flax seeds, sunflower seeds, or pumpkin seeds. That chips and chocolate are not exactly what your body needs is not surprising. But are foods like rice and smoothies potentially hazardous to your health? What food are you ready to give up? Tell us in the comments section below. This has been the Quick List. And I'll see you on the next one, Quicksters.